Hello, YouTubers. So this is a little bit of a random subject, but I thought it would be interesting and it's definitely worth a YouTube video to talk about it. Today I was looking through Microsoft Azure repository on GitHub, and I was trying to understand and see, how the cool kids are writing their code and how what they're using and whatnot. This is interesting, because most of the software engineers, seasoned or new engineers, if they learn something new, they might not remember bringing that up in a conversation, but they'll definitely express that in their production code. So reading through different source codes, trying to learn from different people, especially on GitHub, how some people manage to solve certain problems and how they organize their code and whatnot is definitely beneficial. And that's not just for a Microsoft code. Look around GitHub. Look at what people are doing. If you're interested to see how things are done. I recall that Richard Stallman says, you don't learn programming by writing hello world programs. You learn programming by engaging in real projects. And some of that engagement is when you actually look at the source code, something that lives in production, people are using on a daily basis, and try to see what's, how are people doing their stuff and how they're writing our code. Just don't limit yourself within the group you're working with, whether at work or a project, an open source project or whatnot. Widen your scope there and try to see the entire spectrum of things. So anyways, a little bit of tangent there, but here's the thing. I'm reading through some of their source code, right? So here's their source code, and I don't know if you've noticed. The first thing that I noticed was they're using their usings inside of the namespace. Instead of having it outside of the namespace, they're putting it inside. So it's very interesting. I was like, when you start a new project in Visual Studio, it normally puts all these usings at the top. So what happened there? Why are they doing that? Right? So I had to go on Stack Overflow, usings, in or out namespace. And there's this really cool guy, Philippi and Ben. Not this guy. This guy. Yeah, Philippi and Charlie, sorry. He started explaining this in detail, right? You could go back to that. I'll put the link in the video about what he said. But I wanted to come up with a story, that a real life, a story that you could bring up when you're trying to explain this problem. That will make it probably easier for you to understand what the problem is. So here's Visual Studio 2019, because it's awesome. And I'm going to add in a new project here. And I'm going to add a new class library. I'm going to call it school.subjects.math. Right? So I built in here that is only concerned with all the subjects with math specifically, right? And math has a bunch of helper methods that hopefully will help students. So we're building a bunch of helper methods, so students in a given school could just pull in that library through NuGet or through GitHub source control and use these helper methods into doing their assignments, right? So I'm going to write in a quick function here. Let's say get area of circle, and we're passing in the radius, and we're returning math.pi multiplied by math.power of the radius to the power of 2. I'm not a genius. I looked this up. So don't go ahead and say, oh my God, he knows that off the top of his head. Nope. I just looked that up, and here it is. And it's probably wrong. I don't know if I remember this correctly. So do you see what the problem is here? The problem is it's thinking that the compiler here is saying that the math that you're referencing here is the namespace math. right? It's the namespace math, and therefore there are no functions in that namespace that corresponds to what I'm trying to do here. That's a problem. Now here's the crazy part. If you bring in the usings, if you do alt up down arrows, let's bring that guy down in here, and let's just fix our code. Look what happened. It's sorry, it's not power, it's pow. Because why, right? What happened here? Look at this craziness. If you bring in the system down, the compiler will evaluate this. It'll evaluate this, and then it'll evaluate this statement. When it was up here, it was evaluating this statement, then this statement, and then it's saying, well, according to this, I don't have these functions defined. But if you bring that guy down inside of your namespace, now the equation have changed. Because the compiler is honoring the using systems within that namespace. Oh no, not now, go away. Yeah, sorry about that. Now you're using these headsets. Now, Cortana, I want to talk to you all the time because they're awesome. So you see what I'm doing here? Okay, but that's not the example that Filippi and Charlie were talking about at Stack Overflow. Their example goes like this. They say, let's say you have another class in here, class 2, and this class has school.subjects, and you have a class called math in here, right? And if you go in here, if you have system out, and if you take subjects like this, now, what's going on? It's saying, oh, within that namespace, which is the namespace that's in here, there is already a class that's defined that's called math. And that math class does not have pi or pow. If you bring that guy down here a little bit, sorry, you have to be in a partial namespace. So if I take this out, school.math, sorry, a higher level namespace. So you have school namespace, math. If you go to the other class, this will work. If you pull that out, it'll complain. Come on, complain. There it is. Why? Because it's saying it's going through your namespace and it's evaluating, you know, the math class within the namespace and honors it with a priority higher than using system. You know, but that example is a little bit weird for me. I know what he's trying to say. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, right? So let me get rid of that. Let's go back to our example. Our example here is this. We're saying subjects.math, and now things are not working. So you get the point. The point here is that you're trying to, the compiler, how it interacts with these things is interesting. And someone might say, why are you using ambiguous, you know, shared names? Well, you can't help it. The .NET library is a growing library, and at some point in time you will come across a point where you will need to use a name of something that is already the .NET library already supports, and then you run into this scenario, right? So it really, like reading on the internet, seeing what people are saying, it really depends on what you're trying to do. It's not better or worse. I'm telling you when it would be beneficial, because I'm seeing a lot of source code, like almost any library that I've seen within the Azure SDK.NET is having this style. Is it even in the tests? I don't know. Nope, not in the tests. In some places it doesn't have that. But is that the case everywhere? So this is the source code. Look at the filter. Look, they're using it inside. of their implementation, but not in their tests. Very interesting, right? So that's the difference. And you know, if you think this is not I forgot something, or this is not exactly the thing, because I just learned this right now. Just learned this. Started seeing this a lot in source codes, and just had to learn that. So if you think there's more into this, please drop me a comment and on my YouTube video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.